All right, so today I'm wanting to cover where and how I keep my paperwork for my orders. I've had some ask about it, so I want to show how I do this. Um, it's gonna be hard to show everything because I have a drawer in my office where I keep my open orders and stuff waiting on invoicing. But I can at least show you how I do it and what I do. So from the beginning, when we get a PO in from the customer, the first thing I do is I'm printing off a physical copy of the PO to have a copy of it while the order is open. From there, what goes with that order packet, if you want to call it, I have our PO to the vendor and the customer PO at a minimum. That's usually all that I will need to keep together. That way I can see their PO and my PO together and see that it has been ordered from the vendor. Um, I'll try to show some examples here. So I also keep copies of all my orders after I have processed them, and we'll get into that in just a minute. So let's go into one of these Sandpiper ones. He orders a lot from us. Let's go to the most recent one here. Okay, so what you can see here is this is the invoice, but let's just like that. Let's show before the invoice. This is our purchase order to Sandpiper or Warren Rupp is the name of the company. They sell Sandpiper parts. That's why there's a confusion there. But this is our PO out of Great Plains. And what we do, or what I do, is I print a copy of this. I also save it as a PDF, which I'll show here in a minute. But I print a copy of this along with the customer PO that I already have. So you can see on the customer PO, I have this sales order number and our PO number written right here. You do not have to do that. And you don't really have to do any of what I'm telling you. This is just how I do mine. The reason why I write it down here is just when I'm entering my sales order, my PO, I write it down just so I don't forget it. Because you can do a few processes and then you come back and like, oh wait, what was my PO number? What was the sales order number? Well, if you write it down, there you go. So like I said, at a minimum here, we have the PO from the customer and RPO. So what I would do when I order it is this right here would go into my drawer in my office, and I have a folder that is named Warren Rupp. It has all the open orders that are they're organized by PO number from smallest or the earliest to the latest, um, and it's just waiting for the parts to be received. I will try to find another Sandpiper order that actually has a receiver with it. That one didn't because it was probably a part of a different order as well. Okay. It looks like this one does. Okay. So what happens is, in the order the way I do it is my PO and the customer PO are paper clipped together and they're stuck in the Warren Rupp folder until we receive the parts. Once we receive the parts, the packing list goes from the shipping and receiving to Erica, and she or Miss Anita if Erica's not here, and they get received in Great Plains and they get put in your box or emailed to you if you're over in Little Rock. But they will get put in your box here in Memphis that it's been received. And this is what the receiver looks like. I'll turn it so you can see it. Um, this is what the receiver looks like from Warren Rupp. So it's going to show your PO number right here, and then it's going to show their order number and everything up here. And here's your items that got received. You see the shipping clerk just checked off that this stuff has been received. Um, this is just the receiver number in Great Plains that Erica can reference if she needs to. And here's where the receiving person stamped it that they received it on this date. So once it gets received, what will happen is, and I guess I should have backed up and said this earlier, whenever Crystal Schubert at the time, she's our AP, um, I guess you want to say our lady in our AP department who takes care of all of the invoicing to do with our vendors. She will send you invoices via email. Most likely, that's what she does with me. But she will send them via email and say, hey, I need you to approve these invoices. I can show you what that looks like. She just did it this morning. Um, I do have a folder in my email for approved invoices. So this right here, good morning, Stephen. Please review the attached invoices for payment. So what happens when I get these, um, I will print these off and I put them with the order that I had in my vendor folder. So these are all Viking, for example. So what I would do at this one is I would find this invoice, or I'm sorry, this PO right here, 125841, in my Viking open order folder. And this invoice just gets put with it. I write the sales order number, but I do not approve it yet. You cannot approve invoices until they have been received in Great Plains and also received here, because you have to look at your invoice, your PO, and the receiver from the vendor, match everything up, make sure the pricing's correct, make sure the part's correct, the quantity's correct, all that stuff. Then you can approve your invoice. So back to what I had here. I had the receiver, and I would match up. Um, I would find this PO. In this case, it's Warren Rupp, in my Warren Rupp open order folder, and I would pull that order out, pull the invoice out, because the invoice should be with it. Every time something ships from the vendor, you get an invoice. That's how it's supposed to work. Some of these other smaller vendors, or like, resellers we deal with, we buy stuff from, sometimes that doesn't always happen, but for Viking and Sandpiper, the bigger ones, it happens every time. Excuse me. Um, so anyway, the receiver gets pulled out, invoice gets pulled out, and from here you can approve your invoice. You're looking at your receiver, looking at your PO, looking at the invoice, making sure everything matches. And from there, what I do, I approve the invoice. What you can do is just write on your invoice, okay to pay, or a check mark like I do, whatever, however you want to do it. You put your initials and your date. That way you are signing it. It's good to go, and you put what it's for. So you can put your sales order number, put your service ticket number, if it's for stock, whatever it's for. And from there, you turn that invoice in to Miss Crystal in her box up front, or you can scan it, email it to her, however you want to do it. Um, excuse me. Yeah, give me 1 second. All right, sorry about that. All right, so from there, what will happen is you need to print a pick ticket and a packing list to shipping and receiving, so they know they can ship the order. I can go over that in a later video. I'm just trying to focus on how I do my paperwork. So from there, once the invoice gets approved, I scan all my invoices I've approved, and I also leave notes in the PO in Great Plains. So this one, for example, is 125521. Let me just show you how I would do that. Pull this up. All right, we go purchasing, purchase order documents. It's PO 0125521. We're going to display this PO. And right here in the little notepad next to the PO number, you can see invoice approved by SMB. That, you put your initials on 2/19/24. And I have a window for that for freight if there is inbound freight. There wasn't on that one. But I keep all my approved invoices in the M drive. So my folder right here, here's my approved invoices. I can go to, that was February 19th, I believe. February 19th. And you can see I have a few different files because there's different stuff got received throughout the day, or invoices got to me throughout the day. It just depends. That's why I have a folder for that day. But you could go in here and you could see all the invoices that I approved on that day. So you can see how I just do a little check mark, my initial, the date I approved it, and what it was for. The reason why there's an order acknowledgement printed with this one is because it was a drop ship. I can get more into that later, with dealing with maybe how to approve invoices or how I approve invoices. But this is more about my paperwork. So I do recommend you keep your invoices. It does happen sometimes. Stuff gets lost. Crystal goes out of town, and in between the transition from her doing it, or Miss Anita doing it, or Miss Cheryl doing it, stuff can just get lost. It just happens. It's no big deal. So they may come to you a few months later and be like, hey, we need to get this approved. Why hasn't it been approved yet? I can go into my PO. I can see the notes that I did approve it. I can go back and print off the copy where I did approve it and give it to them. It's just a kind of cover yourself kind of situation, just so you can show that it was done. It's not to point fingers at anybody. It's just to kind of show that you did it. So from there, after the invoice has been approved, your pick and pack has been printed, the customer order packet, or whatever you want to call it, everything I have paper clipped together. So now I will have my PO, the customer PO, and then the receiver right here. So I would have these three documents. This right here, I have another folder in my drawer in the back that it's marked completed, or you can mark it as waiting to be invoiced, however you mark it, or however you want to do this. Um, I don't have one by vendor or by customer. It's just one big completed folder, and it sits in there waiting for the blue copy invoice, which you see in this one right here. So Erica, after she invoices your orders, or Miss Anita, she will put these blue copy invoices in your box or email them to you, however they get to you. And from there, you can do whatever you want to with them. I would not recommend just throwing them away. Just to we need to keep some customer order history. The way it was always done by my predecessor was he would always have a file cabinet in his office, and everything was in file cabinets. I personally don't like that method because it's very hard to find stuff, and especially when you have years and years and years like he did. He was here for 30 something years. Um, Whenever you are trying to find something, it can be very hard to find stuff, and you spend hours, sometimes different days trying to find orders, and you may or may not even find them. So that's not what I do. What I do is I scan everything in. As you see right here, this is a PDF scan. I scan everything in, and I have a folder in my M drive where it says invoice, sales orders / service tickets, or dash service tickets, and it's all organized by customer. So, my A, B, C customers, whatever. So if someone said, hey, I need you to find, such and such order that you did for this case. Well, what I can do is I can go to this case. Here's all my orders for this case. So they could tell me, hey, I need you to find, it was on sales order, 213299 or something like that. Well, I can go right here, 213299 this case, and I can pull up everything for that order. Here's the invoice. Back out a little bit. Here's the invoice. Here's my PO. Here's their PO. Second page of their PO, and here's the receiver. I can find everything for it. I can find it quickly. This also helps too, because if a customer's like, hey, I ordered this last year on this PO, or last year around this time, here's the order confirmation I ordered on. Well, the order confirmation is going to be the sales order number, which is right here, sales order number right here in the middle. You can search your files and you can find that sales order number and figure out exactly what they ordered, where you ordered it from. It makes it really easy to do. This is a very good way to keep track of it. It's been tried and proved, by myself. I've been doing it like this for a couple of years now, and it's been really, really good and helpful. So that is how I do my paperwork on a order from start to finish. Now, another thing I also recommend, this is not required or anything. None of what I'm saying is required. I'm just telling you how I do it. I keep all of my POs. So I told you I print my POs. Well, before I print them, I save them as a PDF. So once again, a Viscase order, like, hey, did you order that from Viscase? Or because I have people ask me that, like, hey, did that get ordered? Can you check on this order for me? Something like that. It's way easier to go in here. I go to Viscase, and I can find, this is all my POs I've ever done for Viscase. So they're just named by ANSI Mag PO number, or the vendor PO number. So you see ANSI Mag, Curflow, EMA is electrical mechanical apparatus here in Memphis, liquid handling equipment, Pulse Feeder, Rogers Machinery, Viking, Warren Rupp. I mean, it's a really good way to keep track of it. Like I said, you don't have to do this. I don't know if anybody else in the company actually does do this. It's just a really good way to keep track of your stuff and have a history of what you've purchased in the past. And to me, it's just helpful to have. I didn't really talk about naming your files once they're invoiced. But if you didn't notice, all it is the customer name and the sales order number. I take off the ORD-01 because that's a given, or ORD-01 dash. Sorry, I take that off because I think everyone knows that's how the orders start. So that is how I do my paperwork from start to finish. If I hope this video is helpful. If you still have questions about it, feel free to contact me, email, text, phone call, whatever, and we can show you more. Thank you.